see our runners coming in, the Filipiak and Waring, the final two, as our grid for our final in Micromax is up on the screen. Alex Jones takes pole position with Aston Brown alongside Harris Robertson, Toby Dukes on the second row, Logan Lauder and Caden Simpson on row number 3. Then we're going to have Morgan Weston and Jack Hutchinson. Harry Neeson, after that disqualification earlier on, he starts 9th place. Look for him to come through. A podium isn't out of the reckoning for the 47, with Marley Fisher completing our runners. Now, earlier on in the day, one of our Micromax runners had an engine problem. That was a 39 of Toby Dukes, and he is out for the final, thanks to the kindness of Team Neeson. They've lent him an engine that's got him out for the final here, so great sportsmanship, camaraderie in the CKC paddock sees Toby Dukes take the final, and he will start on the second row thanks to Team Neeson, so that is greatly appreciated. It gets all of our runners out for this Micromax final. In the orange, the 30 of Alex Jones alongside Aston Brown in the 57 as our Micromax runners make their way through and onto the back straight. Aston Brown weaving the 57 to try and get some temperature into those tyres as they make their way down towards Raymond. Rolling start for our Micromax runners. Through they come into the tram lines. The green drop somewhere away and racing. Can Brown slot through from second place? He does on Alex Jones and Aston Brown, leading the way then from Jones, and Caden Simpson takes a huge chunk of grass on the inside as he gets squeezed by the 27 of Morgan Weston. They both come out of the corner facing in the right direction, which is great to see. Brown, though, leading the way then from Jones, with Harris Roberts in 3rd place. Front of Toby Dukes, all of our Micromax runners making their way round this first lap, and Alex Jones tight and close onto the back of Aston Brown as they head down the back straight. Brown with a helmet tap. He wants a little bit of help from Alex Jones. If these two can move away and then sort this one out right at the end between the two of them for the top two, I'm sure that is the preferred method of your race leader. It also means that he's going to be not going to come under attack for the first few laps. We'll see whether they work together in the same way as behind them Harris Roberts and Toby Dukes battle it out for 3rd place and the final step on the podium here at Llandow. Behind them Logan Lauder, as we see Harry Neeson trying to get alongside Caden Simpson as they head down towards Chandler's. He is on the inside, but I think Simpson might have enough to run all the way around the outside. We'll confirm that in a few moments, because the camera we cut to for the back straight will pick them up in the background to see who's coming through, and it's still Caden Simpson in front of Harry Neeson, but Neeson will come to the inside hard on the brakes, and Simpson's going to try and close the door, but then gets a bit of snap oversteering, trying to run all the way around the outside and carry more speed, and he does indeed drop down into 8th place. So it's Brown leading the way at 2 minutes into this 10-minute final, with Alex Jones going with him in 2nd place. Harris Roberts and Toby Dukes battling it out for 3rd place, and Dukes closing up through the hook and round the tight corners. Just needs that a little bit of drive to get through on Harris Roberts. Out and onto the hanger straight they come then. Let's see whether Dukes is close enough, because the leading two are fairly comfortable. Dukes is in the slipstream, pulls out down the inside of Harris Roberts, needs to get it stopped, as Roberts will then get the cut back, and Roberts will move back through into 3rd place and does so. Dukes, though, gets a good run through the chicanes and will now look to make a move down the inside into Surtees. Hard on the brakes into that double apex left, and through goes Toby Dukes into 3rd place. Harris Roberts drops down into 4th, elects not to defend that one too venomously. We're still in the first 3 minutes of this 10-minute plus 1 lap final, so won't want to get too involved in a battle that might take both of them out of contention for a podium. Behind them, though, Logan Lauder, he's got a fairly decent gap back, but now it's Harry Neeson in front of Morgan Weston and Caden Simpson, having got through in the earlier phase of this race. There is Simpson and Weston battling it out as Simpson moves through and up into 7th place. You'll get the confirmation as they come over the line, as Simpson goes green and Weston goes red as they swap positions for 7th and 8th respectively. Just having a quick look at the timing, see whether Alex Jones did indeed close in 0.2 of a second on Aston Brown on that previous lap, with Brown having a comfortable half-second lead a few moments ago. Alex Jones has reeled that one in, and we speak often about 2 phases of the race. Those carts, in terms of tyre pressure, they're geared for the early part, getting them trying to get away from everybody else and then manage that gap, or whether the drivers are waiting for 4 or 5 minutes in for the tyres to come up to that optimum temperature. And Alex Jones has now started to reel in Aston Brown. Behind them, though, doesn't look like Toby Jukes and Harris Roberts are too far away either. As they come through, there was a slight delay on timing, but the gap between them is fairly equidistant as it was on the previous lap. Alex Jones, though, took another 0.5 tenth out of Aston Brown as they bounce over the curbs on the entry into Surtees, that double apex left. You sort of catch the inside curb, run away from the second part, because you don't need to be anywhere near it, because by that time you're lining yourself up for the tightening radius of McWerthers. Brown and Jones still the top 2. And Jones loses a few kart lengths in the Dell and Diggers chicane at the back straight. The top 4, though, now comfortable between each other, and then you've got Logan Lauder being reeled in by Harry Neeson. Neeson was 1.2 seconds behind. He takes 0.4 of a second out on that previous lap. So Harry Neeson in 6th place, having taken a heat victory outright, another one that was taken away from him from a technical indiscretion. So he's had 2 on-track victories today, one of which he will get to keep. He's still going to move up then, trying to move up onto Logan Lauder. When he does, he's still got another gap of 1.6 seconds or so to this battle on track between Harris Roberts and Toby Jukes for that final step on the podium. It looks like Roberts in the background is a lot closer to Jukes than he was on the previous lap. Will he elect to pull out, or is he looking to push Jukes onto the back of Alex Jones potentially at the front? Jones has fallen a little further away from Aston Brown than what he was earlier on. Brown has been reeled in by Jones, but then Jones made a little bit of a mistake down at Dell and lost 0.2 of a second or so that he's yet to reel back in. Well beyond half race distance then, and now we see Harris Roberts going down the inside of Toby Jukes. Jukes back to the inside though, and he's going to get the switch back as they head down towards Chandler's, the right-hander, and Toby Jukes is back through into 3rd place. Into the Dell they come. 3.5 minutes remaining in this 10-minute plus 1 lap final, and Brown has 0.4 of a second from Alex Jones, who in turn has 0.8 of a second to Toby Jukes, but Harris Roberts gets a good drive out the corner. Jukes wills the kart on, bounces in the seat, and that's just enough to keep him ahead of the 45 of Harris Roberts. Here at his home track at Llandow. 3 minutes remaining. An intriguing battle, not only for the lead, but also for the final step on the podium here in Micromax. Brown and Jones, 0.4 between them. The battle behind only has a 10th, and some parts of the track less than that as they go down the back straight, and now Jukes takes a wider entry. Harris Roberts is still in the wheel tracks as they head down the hanger straight. Neeson, though, is now in front of Logan Lauder. The gap on the previous lap was 0.2 as Harris Roberts gets alongside Toby Jukes. Jukes brave on the brakes all the way round the outside of the hook, and the 39 stays in front of an increasingly wanting Harris Roberts, wanting to get through and into the lead. The 2 leaders, though, nose to tail, 0.2 between them, between Aston Brown and Alex Jones, and Jones once again has reeled that gap in. That's your race leader's dad up there on the gantry, watching away with 2 minutes to go, as his driver is holding off the advances of the 30 of Alex Jones down the back straight. 2 minutes to go. They're going to get at least 3, maybe 4 more laps in here at Llandow in this final, and Jones takes a tighter line, bounces over the curbs ever so slightly. Aston Brown, though, still holding on to the lead from Jones. Your two drivers in terms of those here today, with Daniel Minto coming into the round as the championship leader, not here. These two drivers looking to take some big points out of Minto's championship lead. Brown currently has a 68-point deficit to Minto. Jones has a 114-point deficit to Minto, so they're tight, close enough in the championship for second and third. Even closer, though, out on track now with around about a minute remaining. Is this Micromax final here at Llandow, down the back straight. Aston Brown, head down behind the steering wheel, willing everything he can out of that car. 57 seconds remaining as they come over the line. 3 laps then it is, because they'll easily get round with 10 seconds to spare before the timer elapses. Let's see whether this one just continues with Jones just waiting, biding his time, seeing whether he can make a move, because at the moment, with the exception of half a move earlier on, Alex Jones has kept his powder very, very dry in the first part of this race and the second part, and pretty much up to now, really, with the exception of half an overtake. Aston Brown, they're willing him to push him on. Between the two of them, though, they've got a 2-second gap back to Toby Dukes and Harris Roberts, who are still battling it out for the final step on the podium. The time at the top of the screen elapses. And with Brown leading the way then from Alex Jones. Toby Dukes still in third place, holding Harris Roberts back, and keeps the door closed there in the background, stopping going down. Aston Brown once again with the hand signals, still trying to ask Alex Jones to push them on. 2.3 seconds now is the gap. I'm not sure Jones is going to be listening to much of that when it comes to the final lap, but he might not even be close enough, because Brown is starting to open up a kart length or two on Alex Jones, as Jones given everything he can to try and get past Aston Brown. The last lap board is out then as they come through and over start finish. Aston Brown leads the way from Alex Jones out of the hook as they head towards Surtees for the final time, and Brown throws that kart in there with huge venom, manages to get it stopped though, the same at Macworth as he's through, with a 2 kart length difference all the way back to Alex Jones. Keep an eye out in the background for that battle for third place that's still going on between Toby Dukes and Harris Roberts. Half a lap remaining, and Aston Brown has opened up enough of a gap to Alex Jones that I don't think he's going to need to go too defensive down that back straight. Hand signals once again from Aston Brown. I think he thinks Jones is a lot closer than what he is. Out of the final corner, though, comes Aston Brown through to take the checkered flag, and victory in the background. They're side by side over the line. Jones is going to get second. Drag race to the line, and Harris Roberts snatches third place by half a tenth of a second from Toby Dukes, who was held on to third for most of that race. Roberts in third, Dukes in fourth, in front of Neeson, who was closing in at the end. Lauder, Simpson, Weston, Fisher and Hutchinson complete your 10 runners here at Llandow.